DFW's Cars here with the 2017 Honda Pilot Elite Edition. Little treat for you, another Honda Pilot right next to it. So you can kind of get definitely see they've evolved a lot styling wise over the years. If you watch my Ridgeline review, this is very similar to that and the Honda Odyssey, believe it or not, but just with all-wheel drive, lifted, and a lot more, you know, durable and rugged. So let's go take a look around and see how it looks. It is a good looking truck outside. The dimension, the 20-inch rims, just incredible. It's nice looking. I think it looks a lot better than the gen you just saw, or even the gen in the middle there. And it, you know, it has some fun styling cues on there. The line of chrome, the roof rails. So not a bad looking SUV. This one does have remote start, which you just do like so. So I'll cool it off for our drive review. Got coming around the back here. It definitely looks sleek. It looks nice. I like this strip of chrome they did down there. It's a nice looking SUV. It looks so much more sophisticated now. I think this is, we'll talk about price later, but between this and the Acura, it's a tough choice. This does have one feature, the Acura does not. So because it is an SUV, storage space is very important. And this one has a lot of it. Very wide here. It's so wide so I can't really even get it in the shot. Very deep. You can fold those all the way down. These slide forward and back. And these two recline as well. Even you get a spare tire under here, but in between you get this nice little storage area there. There's your jack. If you want to do cooler or whatever, you got that there. I don't usually go into this much detail, but for buyers of this truck, it is useful. Even the rear passengers get dual cup holders. Let's go check out those back seats, shall we? So coming around here to the back, these fold super easily if you don't have them all the way up like I did there. This does have the multimedia package, so you get a remote that you can disconnect, or it's magnetic. You can just leave it up in there. You do get a screen, and so there's a Blu-ray player. There is a traditional power jack, and there's HDMI, so you could bring your Xbox or PlayStation. Two volume controls you may notice because there are two sets of headphones back here with that multimedia package. Definitely think that's worthwhile. As the captain's chairs back here, so you do lose a seat. You get 7 seats instead of 8. Some people might like that extra seat, but it's much more convenient if you want to just walk into the back here. Do that, you know, with this center area open, so it might be almost worth giving up that seat there, and then you get this extra storage here and everything like that. You do get vents back here. Not as much entertainment, but this is pretty cool. You may remember I mentioned this car has one feature even the Acura does not, and that's a panoramic roof back here. It doesn't really open or do anything like that. It just kind of looks nice for you. It's nice to have the glass, and look how far back it does go. So even these folks back here get to see out. And then of course, much like the Acura, it does have this roof which goes up, down, open, close, you know, traditional moonroof. What you lose out on from the Acura, I don't think it's related to this, is the Acura has a widescreen display, whereas this is just a, you know, pretty standard display. But as we'll talk about in the price part, this SUV is significantly cheaper. Moving up to the interior, this is perfectly nice. Let me illuminate those gauges. So as you see, the start-stop button just pulsates there, which is super nice. Good quality plastics here. Obviously, it's not like a luxury SUV inside, but it is nice. The gauges are clear, easy to read. The steering wheel has safety tech on there that you'd find in any Acura with this high-end trim. 3-zone climate control, navigation where, if you look, your car is actually a little Honda Pilot. So that's pretty fun. Obviously, you'd probably use CarPlay or Android Auto over this, but it is there. For some reason, if you're, you know, somewhere where you don't have cell phone reception, which is nice. This is a feature I found on the Ridgeline that I loved. Not the sunglass holder, but this so you can see everyone in the back there. Hello. That's super nice if you have kids or whatever. Speaking of that, you can lock the kids out on the climate control, and then you can also, if they're, playing too much and being bad, you can also lock out this and like force it off. Space is one area. This SUV is very plentiful. 2 6 feet plus people fit in here. So 1 6-footer and then one, whatever the difference between like this and 6 feet is, people could ride comfortably. And one feature I like about this, these seats are sliding and totally adjustable. So that's pretty nice. Let's go see how it drives. Yes, if you're curious what a 200,000 mile, almost 15-year-old Honda Pilot drives like, subscribe. There will be a review kind of how this guy is held up. But let's go take this guy for a ride. It's a sweet, sweet ride. Different drive modes on this guy. There is Eco mode, which I actually leave it in most of the time because you're not seeing it now, but on the highway coming down here, we got 1 mile above what they quoted, 7 miles a gallon, and even doing mostly around town, since then we've averaged 25 with Eco. It still does well. This is active cruise control, lane keeping assist. One glitch I'm not a huge fan of: every time you turn the car on, you have to turn the feature that'll help keep you in your lane. You have to turn that back on. It defaults to off every time, so that's kind of a bummer. This screen, much like any of the Honda screens, is super nice, super functional. Does everything you need. And is pretty easy to use. I still wish there was a physical volume knob. I've said that before, but between the control on the wheel here and this slider, it works. There are all physical controls for the climate control, thankfully. Another nice feature: heated and cooled seats, and then heated seats in the back on this guy. I have a green tree. I'm accelerating briskly, still a green tree. Push the accelerator more down and you see the green goes away. But as soon as you get back to being a happy green driver, it turns green. Storage, I would say, is like one of the best areas. There's all this space down here. There's a second pocket down here where you can almost fit a laptop. There's this little area up here as well. There's the dual cup holders. There's this where even when it's closed, you can store some things. This opens up. There's this to, keep change, small items you use often. And then this goes way deep down, and there's a cigarette lighter type port and then a USB port in there. So you get a total of 3 USB adapters. This is for the Blu-ray, for the rear entertainment system, which is pretty cool. Very spacious glove box. This takes a little getting used to, very similar to the Acura. This is for reverse, neutral, drive, and then you hit that again, and it switches between drive and sport. Sport not only changes the transmission, it does change the steering, which we'll talk about as well. And then there is this traction control mode here, as well as auto stop start. So this traction control is actually pretty cool. Much like the Honda Ridgeline, it has a snow mode for the all-wheel drive, a mud mode if you're kind of like stuck, and it lets you spin the wheels, and a sand mode as well. Obviously, for this review, I'm just leaving it normal, and I'll probably put it in sport. All right, so immediately getting into it, it feels big. It is a big, huge, as you can see back there, SUV. I feel so small. Look at this. It's definitely has a lot of space inside. It's even bigger than the, old Pilot. And as we do on every car we review, let's give it a little hustle. In sport mode. Around the turn, surprisingly competent, surprisingly quick with the transmission and that V6 kind of going strong. I've been very impressed how quick it is in sport mode. I'm gonna do a fast pull out here. Whoa, that all-wheel drive kicks in. It's not the super handling system like the Acura. That's another area. Not only is the steering and suspension tuned better, but that super handling all-wheel drive is pretty nice. But yeah, I have a Audi SUV in front of me. Been able to keep up with him, even around some curves earlier. Not too much of a problem, and he is hustling. We are going a little over the speed limit by about 10 miles an hour here. And then even around the curves back there, he's been my constant companion. So this is pretty cool. It's not what it's meant for, but there's cross traffic alert. So when a car starts to come into the range of the camera or the radar, it starts to beep at you, as well as front and back backup sensors. So this feature is a godsend that Mercedes and a lot of other Hyundai, Genesis, Kia, etc. don't have. Lane keeping assistance suspend beep. So when it loses the lane, it beeps at you. That is off by default, but the fact they even have that in there is absolutely brilliant. Talking about the interior, there are speakers up here as well as a surround speaker and neural surround on there, so that's nice. You know, there's high quality plastic up here and the stitching as well. So it's a perfectly nice interior, nice place to spend time. One thing I will say, if you want the nicer interior, you will be spending about 10 grand more. But if you want the nicer interior and you also want a little bit, it feels smaller, it feels more nimble, get the Acura in that regard. Engine-wise, they feel pretty close. The Acura is going to be a little bit more powerful, but for what you do in an SUV, it's just fine. The steering is actually a strong point on this guy. In sport mode, the steering actually, for the kind of curves you'll be doing in a big SUV, you're not going to want to carve canyons with this, but it's competent. The body roll is pretty minimized. It's not like Mazda CX-9 good. But it's probably better than the Toyota out there. The turning circle also they have made. I'm gonna do a UE here. They made very tight, very tight in this car, which I love, absolutely adore. That's very important in an SUV. Definitely the engine has actually kind of a nice growl to it. There are paddle shifters. It is the 9-speed unit. They've made a lot of improvements since it came out last year. It feels very nice. It feels very like it's not searching for gears too often. You kind of have to help it out though. If you want to go up a hill or go fast, just pop it into sport mode, and it'll cooperate. It'll shift down, several gears. Otherwise, with economy on, it'll stay up in 8th and 9th gear and let you just cruise very efficiently. Pretty much all the safety tech you could imagine, blind spot monitoring, lane keeping assist, active cruise control. So it's got a certain level of on the highway autonomy. You just kind of keep your hand on the wheel, set the active cruise control. It'll kind of go, and you just kind of monitor all the systems and make sure everything's doing its job. It is not the best of all, like compared to the Mercedes Tesla system of finding the lanes when they're not on a highway or clearly marked. Other systems I've experienced have done better in that regard. So good on the highways, good when there's that one solid line and then that one other clear dotted line. If that's not the case though, it can get a little wonky. All right, let's do some off-roading. I found you guys a spot, and very good suspension play, very nice there. No complaints at all. It handles, the all-wheel drive system does a great job as well there. Let's back it out. So now I can officially say I've taken this SUV off-road for you guys. Probably more so than 90% of owners will. It's very competent on-road, and it's surprisingly competent off the road. Not a lot of SUVs can kind of handle both. This will handle, whatever you need it to do. So would I buy this or the Acura? That's difficult. You're talking about fully loaded out, almost, like 10 grand difference. That's a fair amount of change. You get a more sporty-looking exterior with the Acura. You get a much nicer interior, and you get a little bit, more nimble handling. Honestly, for a family hauler, I'd probably take this over the Acura and just save 10 grand. Acura is really nice as well, though, and if the 10 grand's not like going to be a deal breaker, or you'll want to get, you're willing to get the Acura a little less optioned out, just because of the driving dynamics, drive both, see what you think. Compared to the other competitors in this area, it's in a fairly unique space. Toyota Highlander might be a little nicer inside, but this probably drives a little better and is a little bit, I would say, more efficient, although, that could be a toss-up. I just think the Honda is a little bit more interesting. So would I buy this car with my own money? Absolutely. I would probably get the smaller CX-9, but this one does have a lot more space than the CX-9, and I think maybe a little bit more like durability. So it all just depends, honestly, what are you looking for in an SUV? If you want one of the, you know, like ultimate driving SUVs, that's, you know, has the, you know, third row seats, Mazda CX-9, which I'll link to now, is probably gonna be it. If you want just a little more space, a little more practicality, a little more, I guess, like ruggedness, you know, this is an excellent choice as well. I've always liked Hondas. Based on how well the old Pilot did, you know, this car is gonna stick around fairly, you know, well, and survive fairly well. Good reliability. Till next time, my speedy racers, drive on.